For over a decade, Johnny Galecki was a weekly presence on our screens as lovable geek Leonard on The Big Bang Theory. But when the show ended in 2019, the star seemingly disappeared. So what has he been up to? On May 3rd, 2019, Johnny Galecki took to Instagram to share some exciting news. He and his then-girlfriend, Elena Meyer, who he privately began dating the year prior, were expecting a baby. He wrote in the post, "We are absolutely over the moon to announce that we will soon be welcoming a little one into this crazy and wonderful world. We ask that you please respect our privacy during this celebratory time for us and our families." Later that month, during a paint-filled gender reveal party, Galecki and Meyer learned that they'd be welcoming a son. Orbison was born in early December 2019, with Galecki posting a sweet photo of himself and Meyer, each holding one of their baby's little hands. However, by November 2020, Galecki and Meyer had broken up and were co-parenting Orbison. Meyer wrote on Instagram that month, "This has been the gnarliest year of my life, with the highest highs and the lowest lows." Ever private about his relationships, Galecki has not publicly commented on why things ended. After his relationship with Meyer came to a close, Galecki turned to a friend to help get his mind off things. Country musician Randy Houser. In January 2020, Galecki and his mother Mary Lou introduced Houser on stage at the Fonda Theater in Los Angeles. In October of that year, as the world still reeled from the COVID-19 pandemic, Galecki shared an adorable photo of the two dads and their kids enjoying a sunny autumn day at a pumpkin patch. Additionally, Houser helped Galecki tap into his musical side. A talented drummer, Galecki learned to set aside his shyness on stage and occasionally join Houser on a few tour stops. In fact, his drumming skills can be heard in the demo version of No Stone Unturned, the first song off Houser's 2019 album Magnolia. That spur-of-the-moment opportunity came when Galecki stayed with Houser and his wife in Nashville for a weekend. When his guest asked what he was working on, Houser played No Stone Unturned with just a click track, and Galecki asked for some drumsticks.
I didn't even know he played drums.
After filming for The Big Bang Theory wrapped up, Galecki returned to the world of Lanford, Illinois for brief appearances as David Healy on The Conners.
Yeah, the characters resurfaced really quickly. It was odd.
In Season 2, which aired in the fall of 2019, David is featured in 2 episodes. These episodes show Darlene, played by Sarah Gilbert, grappling with a difficult decision. Does she get back with David, her teenage love, and the father of her kids? Or does she finally leave him in the past? For Gilbert, it was a joy to once again work alongside Galecki, who she said on Live with Kelly and Ryan stood by her side years prior as she began to understand her sexuality.
He's the best. He's such a good guy. He's such a good actor.
In 2024, the show was renewed for its 7th and final season. Regarding a possible Galecki return, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Executive producer Bruce Helford told TV Line, "The door is always open to Johnny. I'm sure we'll be talking to him." Aside from his limited appearances on The Conners, Galecki hasn't set foot in front of a camera since the end of The Big Bang Theory, essentially disappearing from Hollywood. That's because, after 12 years, Leonard's mannerisms were so ingrained in Galecki's acting performance that it would have been impossible for him to immediately take on a new role and not carry over some of the character. He said in Jessica Radloff's The Big Bang Theory, the definitive inside story of the epic hit series, "One of the reasons I kind of have been staying out from in front of the camera is I'm still kind of bleeding Leonard out of my system, because these characters, they stay with you for a while." Plus, Galecki truly enjoyed his 12 years as Leonard, which would have made a quick transition into another character even harder. In an interview with Larry King, he revealed that the show's co-creators Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady initially envisioned him as Sheldon. However, upon reading the first few pages of the script, he felt drawn to Leonard.
I hadn't had a lot of opportunities to play, not that Leonard's a love interest, but the love is someone struggling with that territory of the heart.
Upon landing his first major sitcom role on Roseanne in the early 90s, a teenage Galecki moved from his childhood home in Illinois to Los Angeles, where he remained for the next 3 decades. For the majority of that time, however, he never felt like he belonged in the City of Angels permanently. He told Architectural Digest, "I never felt like much of an Angelino, and I did try. I say that with sadness, not with snobbery. 30 years is just a very long time to live in a city that you're not all that comfortable in." When The Big Bang Theory wrapped up and Galecki no longer had any commitments tying him to the West Coast, he began pondering where he'd like to move to. A few places came to mind, including Austin and New York, but one place attracted him the most: Nashville. He told Architectural Digest, "Everywhere I looked around here felt like the scene of a future memory." In 2019, shortly before the shutdowns of the COVID-19 pandemic, Galecki finally said goodbye to California and moved to the Music City. Once there, his sole focus was on his family and getting his new house decorated to his liking, rather than what was next in his career. In fact, he admitted that the 2024 interview with Architectural Digest was the first he agreed to in nearly 4 years. Though Galecki's relocation to Los Angeles as a teenager was a solo endeavor, this wasn't the case for his Nashville move. By his side was Morgan Galecki, whom he privately married on an undisclosed date. He first posted images of Morgan on his Instagram in January 2023 as part of a series of photos from their trip with Orbison to Walt Disney World. Galecki wrote in the caption, "Thank you to Mickey and gang for a magical post-holiday holiday." A little over a year later, the Galeckis welcomed a daughter together. Similar to how he handled his relationship with Meyer and the birth of Orbison, Galecki has worked to keep his home life with Morgan and his daughter out of the public spotlight. However, he does share the occasional glimpse into his life and happiness as a husband and father, whether it be cute Instagram posts like the Disney one or the rare interview. Without the stress of a weekly sitcom on his plate, Galecki is able to dedicate his full focus to something else, being a good father. Though he shields Orbison from the public eye, even hiding his face in social media posts, Galecki shares occasional updates about their father-son adventures, which range from typical outings to spending time with one of the top rock bands in the world. In December 2021, Galecki took Orbison to see some holiday lights. In a post of the two standing under a lit-up canopy, Galecki wrote in the caption, "Let it snow with my best friend Orbison Galecki." In a March 2022 post, Orbison can be seen taking in the world of art as he stands in front of a Vincent van Gogh piece. Then, in August 2022, this duo got an opportunity that every emo kid of the early 2000s would pay top dollar for, attending My Chemical Romance's soundcheck at Nashville's Bridgestone Arena. Galecki wrote in the caption, "An extra heartfelt thank you to Gerard Way for the shout-out to both Orby and I during last night's absolutely incredible show." Galecki and My Chemical Romance's Gerard Way actually go way back, with Way once interviewing Galecki for YRB magazine. Galecki has a great way of maintaining friendships with his ex-girlfriends. The first was Sarah Gilbert, who went through a tragic depression while dating him as a teenager. At the time, she was questioning her sexuality, but after she came out to him, he was nothing but supportive and kept her secret until she was ready to do so publicly years later. Then came Kaley Cuoco, whom he dated from 2008 to 2010.
We got together and just fell mad for each other for about 2 years.
Though things became strained as Galecki held fast to their self-imposed rule to keep the relationship away from the public eye, there were no hard feelings when it ended. The two stayed close friends throughout the remainder of filming and in the years that followed the finale. Galecki still posts annual birthday wishes for Cuoco that are filled with love and sarcasm. In November 2020, he wrote, "The happiest 74th birthday to my fake wife Kaley Cuoco. You know how much I adore you and respect you. I'm so proud of all you are doing and so happy with your happiness. Congratulations on 82 years of age." Additionally, for the 2022 book The Big Bang Theory, the definitive inside story of the epic hit series, they conducted most of their interviews with author Jessica Radloff as a duo. In her acknowledgments, Radloff thanked Cuoco for taking charge of Galecki's schedule. On June 1st, 2020, a few days following the murder of George Floyd by former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin, peaceful protesters gathered at the plaza between St. John's Church and Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C. However, they were ejected from the area with tear gas by the U.S. Park Police and National Guard. Shortly after their removal, then-President Donald Trump stood in front of the church with a Bible, with many reports claiming the protesters were forcibly removed so that he could reportedly stage a photo op. Galecki, who had been making his disapproval of Trump and his voters known for several years prior to the St. John's incident, took to Instagram to express his many thoughts on the situation. He said in part, "We need understanding and compassion and trusted leadership, not your irresponsible and thoughtless, extremely dangerous threats and your pathetic and impotent bullying. I'm sincerely convinced at this point that this unstable person will not be satisfied until he creates another civil war." Galecki continued to be a vocal critic of Trump throughout his term in office, while also posting remarks on such events as school shootings and the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court in 2018. Since the emotional finale of The Big Bang Theory, many fans have wondered if, at some point down the line, they'll see this cast together again on screen. It's not completely out of the question. Just look at the 2021 Max reunion of the Friends cast. It brought together Matthew Perry, Matt LeBlanc, David Schwimmer, Jennifer Aniston, Lisa Kudrow, and Courtney Cox at the Warner Brothers lot, where Friends, as well as The Big Bang Theory, was filmed for the first time in 17 years. Galecki has hinted that he's not opposed to doing something similar for The Big Bang Theory, just not anytime soon. He said in Radloff's book, maybe after the amount of time that the Friends cast had. In the meantime, he credits Radloff's book as being an emotional reunion of sorts. It was one that allowed him to reminisce on those 12 years and all of the highs and lows that changed his life forever.